Hi there, thank you so much for joining me today. This is Julie DiMatteo from thepaperpixie.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US, and in this video tutorial I have a beautiful Impossible box for you featuring that gorgeous Simply Elegant Specialty Designer Series paper. And the Impossible box opens like this on the top. It looks impossible, but I'm going to show you how it is possible. What I love about the Impossible boxes is that they are a lid and box in one. And inside, this box is sized to fit the 8-ounce Bath & Body Works body lotion or body wash. And my inspiration for the design of this box came from the label and the cap of this. I love that copper cap on here. This is the White Pumpkin and Chai body lotion from Bath & Body Works, and that fits perfectly in this shadow box. It's a little bit snug, but I love the fit. And you can create this out of almost a full sheet of 8.5 by 11. Look at that beautiful color there. I want to share with you the products we're going to be using today. This is just a quick sneak peek of the Simply Elegant Specialty Designer Series paper. This is currently in the annual catalog. And just gorgeous silver, copper, and gold foil elements to this paper. We're also using the Little Delight stamp set. I love this for year-round, using the sentiment, "You're such a blessing." The beautiful brushed metallic adhesive backed dots, the layering circles dies, and the painted labels dies. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how to make this. We're going to start with a piece of basic gray cardstock that measures 8.5 by 10 3/4. So I only just cut a 1/4 inch off of the 11-inch side. And along the 8.5-inch side, we're going to score this at 2.5, 4, 6.5, and 8. Then I'm going to rotate it clockwise, and we're going to score this at 1.5, 7 3/4. And then I'm going to flip the cardstock, and then we're going to score at 8.5 and 9 1/4. Now I'm going to flip this cardstock back over and then turn it portrait. I've got our 3 score lines towards the top. I'm going to fold backwards on the second score line from the top, and I'm actually going to just go ahead and burnish this now. Bringing that back to the Simply Scored with that fold at the top. I'm going to press that up to the top of the Simply Scored, and then taking the ball tip of my stylus, we're going to make a few tick marks. Those tick marks are going to be at 3/4 of an inch, and I'm just pressing down with the ball tip there. 3 1/4, 4 3/4, and 7 1/4. Show you those tick marks there. Those are going to help us cut the mechanism for the Impossible box. Now I'm going to rotate this towards me, so I've got the fold facing towards me, and I'm going to come in and cut up each of those vertical score lines, stopping at that first horizontal score line. Again, we're leaving this folded, so cutting through 2 layers of cardstock here. And then we actually want to remove this corner section, so I'm just going to turn it 1/4 of a turn, and I'm also going to miter cut at the same time, like so. So just to show you, that's what that piece looks like that we just cut away. Turning this back, now I'm going to cut from the tick mark up into the right, so from the tick mark to where this score line meets the edge of the cardstock. I'm just going to do that in one cut. That's going to make sure that it cuts straight, like so. Now we're going to shift down to the next tick mark in same direction up into the right, but we're going to stop where this score line meets that cut. And we're going to do that 4 times, so just work your way down to each of the tick marks. So we basically removed these little triangular pieces, and then when I open this, you're going to see what that just did. Really, really easy, and I love this for the Impossible box. Let me show you a template here really quickly. I'll bring this back in a moment for reference. Now we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish on some score lines here. So the first thing I want to do is fold backwards again on that top score line. So remember, those top 2 score lines we scored on the opposite side of the paper, so those 2 get folded backwards. This next one gets folded the normal way. And then the bottom one as well, we're going to fold and burnish. Okay, We've got it like that. Now let me turn it sideways and show you. We've got these two mountain folds and then two valley folds here. If you're looking at it from this direction, opposite if you look at it from this direction, just to kind of show you how I folded those. Now bringing this back, before we do the vertical score line burnishing, I want to make sure I'm folded backwards on that top score line, because when we fold and burnish these, we want to make sure that this is folded backwards. That's because the box is going to be like that as well. So we want to start to train our paper. So while that's folded, I'm going to flip this over and fold and burnish. Just take your time here and tell that cardstock who's boss, and then go ahead and burnish. And we're just going to work our way down. Take your time. And then we'll make sure that this just folds over the edge here. I'm going to make a little miter cut right here so that both sides of that tab are miter cut, like so. Now flipping this over, we've got our fold at the top. Along the bottom, I'm going to cut up each of the vertical score lines, stopping at the horizontal score line. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and remove this lower rectangle and also come in miter cut. Remove that and cut up each of the vertical score lines, stopping at that horizontal score line. All right, now we can fold the bigger sections out of the way to isolate these two tabs, and then I'm just going to come in and miter cut those. All right, now before we glue this together, we're going to put down our beautiful designer series paper. This is again the Simply Elegant Specialty Designer Series paper, and I've got two pieces that measure 2 1/4 by 4 5/8. If your pattern was directional, you'd want these to be in portrait. Then I have two pieces that measure 1 1/4 by 4 5/8. Again, portrait if you had a directional pattern. Two pieces that measure 1 1/4 by 2 1/4. These you'd want in landscape. And then two pieces that are 1 1/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch square. I'm going to start with the larger panels. I'm going to use multi-purpose liquid glue. And I'm going to kind of turn this sideways. I'm going to line up this piece towards this bottom score line here. And you're going to have about 1/8 of an inch on the bottom and the two sides. We do want to make sure that we've got this big opening here, because that is the section where the lid slides down, and we don't want to have any paper there preventing that from sliding down smoothly. So you'll notice that we've got 1/8 of an inch on either side and then underneath, and that's the perfect placement for that. And then we're just going to continue to put the rest of the pieces down. All right, so those are the 4 panels on the bottom of the box. The rest of the panels are going to go here on this top section, but remember we have this folded back and we're going to adhere it to this side. We don't want to adhere it to the back side. All right, look how beautiful that looks. I love this paired with the basic gray. Now it's time to glue this box together. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. I'm going to fold on the second score line from the left. We're not going to put glue on this tab yet. That's going to be the very last tab that we glue down. So I'm just going to put liquid glue along this longer tab here. And then I'm going to fold on the first score line from the right. You do kind of have to work with that paper there at the top. And then we're going to go ahead and line that up. Again, there's no glue on that top smaller tab. And if you need to, with that liquid glue, you can kind of slide things into place here to get those lined up. Again, sometimes this cardstock folded over causes this to not exactly line up. Just take your time. The liquid glue gives you some time to slide things into place. And then make sure that that's really good and adhered. Now we'll focus on the bottom. So right here is our seam. This is the back of the box. I'm going to go ahead and fold in each of these two tabs. Now you'll see that they overlap by about 1/2 of an inch, and that's fine for this box because the lotion has a little bit of weight to it. So I'll put liquid glue on each of the tabs and then on this front flap here. Then we'll fold the back flap down, then the front flap, and that liquid glue gives us a chance to square that bottom up. Get everything into place, and then I like to flip it over and take the lotion and place that in the box and use that as leverage to press down on the bottom. Now, as I mentioned before, this is a pretty snug fit for this bottle. I wanted to make sure we could create this out of an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. So what I want you to do here is to just take your time. We're going to dry fit this. So technically this tab is going to tuck right underneath here. That we're going to glue it down, but I want you to sort of break this cardstock in first before we go ahead and do that. So we're going to just do this a few times. And I'm just sort of breaking down or smoothing out these little corners here so this mechanism closes really smoothly and isn't too difficult to open. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put liquid glue on this tab, but I don't want to go all the way up to the score line. I want to go about 1/8 of an inch before the score line. So I'll show you, get the glue there. Let's pop that out so I can get better access to it. So again, I'm not going all the way up to that score line. This edge is not going to perfectly meet up with that score line because again, this is folding backwards on itself. So then I'm going to make sure that that is tucked behind this section before we press this down again. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of maneuver this in place here. You want it to line up this edge of the cardstock with this edge so that those are all nicely lined up. Again, it's not going to perfectly fit there, but it'll be really close. And if you have any glue oozing out, just wipe that away with your fingertips. It dries clear. But again, you don't want that to be too tight so that we can get our Impossible box opened and closed easily. All right. Now, how awesome is this? I absolutely love the way Impossible boxes open and close. Such a cool closure. All right, so the recipient would then just slide up the lid and then can pull out their gift. This would be great for a host gift for a dinner party. All right, now I did a few things ahead of time to decorate this box. We're gonna make it really easy. So again, we use the Painted Labels dies, and I die cut from our copper foil, this awesome swirly circle here. I also cut a circle from the Layering Circles dies, and it is the 4th from the smallest, so 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 1 7/8 in diameter. Cut that out of basic white. We're using the stamp set Little Delights and the sentiment You're Such a Blessing. And I'm gonna stamp that in basic gray onto the basic white. Now, if you had a red rubber stamp, you'd want to stamp first and then die cut. But since this is photopolymer, I can just ink it up and stamp it right where I want it. Just like so. I love that font and sentiment. I'm just gonna take some liquid glue and adhere that to the copper foil piece. You have just a smidge of that stitching on the copper foil peeking out from behind the basic white. And then I'm just going to grab a trio of dimensionals here. I'm going to pop that on the front of our Impossible box. And then I'm going to add a copper brushed metallic dot down there on the lower right. So there we have our simply elegant Impossible box, sized to fit one of the Bath & Body Works 8-ounce lotions or body washes. A beautiful gift for a friend or loved one with a really beautiful wow factor. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss my next video. If you're interested in purchasing any of the Stampin' Up! Products I used today, they'll be linked in the description. And I'll also include a link to my detailed blog post with all project measurements, details, and a picture of the template. I'd love to have you come visit me at thepaperpixie.com where I post projects to inspire you. And if you don't want to miss a thing, you can subscribe to receive blog updates via email, and you'll receive an email each time I publish a new post. You can shop with me anytime at thepaperpixie.com/shop. And if you're interested in a discount on your Stampin' Up! Purchases, the starter kit is the ultimate bundle, and it's a great way to fulfill your wish list for less. You can purchase the starter kit at thepaperpixie.com/join. And I'd love to welcome you to my team of Paper Pixies in the Stampin' Up! Family. If you don't already have a demonstrator and you'd like complimentary copies of our current catalogs, you can submit a catalog request at thepaperpixie.com/happymail. And if you give this project a try, I'd love to see what you made, so feel free to share it on social media with the hashtag #PaperPixie, and I'll be sure to check it out. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Take care. Bye.